let's talk about what's at stake with Sean Spicer. He is RNC Communications Director. Sean, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
I saw a few headlines this morning basically saying, look, the RNC is doing a big shakeup ahead of the convention in July. Can you explain the changes that are happening right now?
Actually, it's the opposite. What the chairman is asked the members of the RNC as we head into our final meeting before the convention is to not make any recommendations, to leave this to the delegates who have been elected by the grassroots. What this convention should be about, whether it's our platform or our nomination, is to empower the delegates who are elected by folks from coast to coast to decide the direction, the nominee, the platform of this party for the next 4 years, which they've done going back since the 1800s.
Yeah, it's so funny because you read these headlines that say the RNC wants this big shakeup, and then you read through the article and you read through the notes, and it's actually you're saying don't make any changes. That's the shakeup that the press is talking about.
Well, and I think that, but as I've learned, I mean, a lot of times it is about getting the clicks. When you point out, you actually have to read the story to understand what's going on. But I think it is news in the sense that traditionally the RNC makes recommendations to the convention about the changes that it wants for the party. But this chairman, Chairman Priebus, believes strongly that it's the delegates who make this party great, and he wants the delegates who have been elected by the grassroots Republican voters throughout this country to decide the direction of the party and the platform and the key things that make this party great. And that's frankly why we're different than the Democrats. We are a states' rights party. We're not a party built on super delegates who are unelected party bosses. Our delegates that will be there in Cleveland are folks that have been elected state to state by congressional districts and counties by grassroots Republican voters, and that's important.
Yeah, and which is why right now you're seeing all of the candidates try to schmooze all of the delegates to try and make sure that they are in their corner come July. Leaving it up to the delegates, though, that really tells me that anything can happen come July.
Well, it's a majority of delegates to make all the decisions, right? So you're going to have 1,237 delegates decide that platform changes or that rules to the conventions matter. But it's a majority of those delegates. When it comes to the nomination, which is obviously the big part of the convention that everyone pays attention to, you're going to have bound delegates. And so those delegates, in the case of Florida, there were 99 delegates elected. It was winner take all. Those delegates are bound to Donald Trump, no matter what they personally think or who they might personally vote for. But so when it comes to the nomination, that part of the convention, the delegates are bound in most cases to who the people in that particular state or congressional district voted for. When it comes to the rules and the platform, that's a different situation again. But in every one of those, it's a majority that carries the day. So whatever 1,237 want, that'll be the outcome that is achieved.
With that, having said that, do you risk the perception, as has been the case because of Donald Trump really making noise about this, that that's not what the people thought? The people think that they vote for somebody and their vote matters. And now we know and we see that it's actually the delegates who will choose the President of the United States.
Well, again, I think back in 2000, people learned a lot about civics when they saw the Electoral College make a decision. Al Gore won the popular vote, but it's the Electoral College. So I understand sometimes that there might not be a full awareness of how the process works. And I think it's incumbent upon us at the RNC, and you've seen the chairman go out over and over again the last 10 days, and he'll continue to be out there, other officials from the RNC, explaining this process. It's been 40-plus years since we've had an open convention, and the potential of that still looms right now. I think it's incumbent upon us at the RNC to explain the process. But look, Maria, I think what's really important for people to really understand is that the Republican Party is a party built on members who have joined the party, and those members, those grassroots voters and activists, they get to decide in each state how that state's going to operate and specifically how it's going to allocate and select its delegates. What people, if you think about it for a second, it does make a lot of sense. If you're a member of a Kiwanis Club, people who aren't a member of the Kiwanis Club don't get to decide the rules or, who becomes the officers. If you're a member of an HOA and your community votes on, zoning particulars or who the officers are in the HOA, people who don't live in your community don't get to vote. I think that what need to understand is that the Republican Party, each state and territory in the District of Columbia, has members of that party that create the rules and decide how they're going to operate. And then the Republican National Committee is a states' rights party, allows those states to tell us how they've made their decisions, the rules they operate.
Right.
But the big point is, since October of last year, all of the rules have been available for everybody to see, the candidates, the public, the media. So everybody's known how the process works. I think now that we've gotten to this point in the contest, everyone's paying attention. Remember, John McCain was the presumptive nominee in March of 2008, Mitt Romney in April of 2012. So for a long time, people haven't really cared about the process. This time, however, the real good side is that we're seeing huge turnouts in all of these states, and more voters and states are participating in a process that, frankly, they haven't in the past. And that's a good thing for the process. It's a good thing for our party.
Very briefly, go through the potential outcomes here. Is a potential outcome that none of the candidates get 1237 by the end of the convention on what, Thursday or Friday of that week in July?
So right now, as you mentioned, the magic number is 1237. Donald Trump is the only candidate right now that can get 1,237 bound delegates. The last day of voting is going to be June 7th. There's 303 delegates up for grabs, including 172 in California alone. And on that day, either Donald Trump will have 1,237 bound delegates or he won't. If he has 1,237 bound delegates, he will be the presumptive nominee. If he doesn't, then we will go into an open convention in Cleveland and we will start balloting at that point. The Rules Committee will meet the week prior to determine the rules for the convention made up of those delegates, and then that's how we'll begin balloting. And once a candidate receives that majority, 1,237, they will then become the nominee of our party.
All right. We will be watching. Sean, exciting times. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Sean Spicer from the RNC this morning.